Okay, so I am open up to the lecture slides on Chapter 12. I've chosen to go with the publisher's lecture slides for the rest of the semester because they give you many more resources that I would typically give in the classroom, but since you're doing this now online, the lecture slides are really going to be key for you as you're moving through the material and you're making your way through the reading. You want to be using these lecture slides appropriately, and these ones just provide a lot of information. So if I just go into here, you're going to see the learning objectives, and these are the same ones that I post on Play-Doh for you. You should be able to understand each one of these. When you come away from having done the reading and watched the videos, you should really use this as a guide to what should I know for this chapter. So this would be a good thing to use for your study guide, is be able to explain each of these concepts here, okay? It also comes with a video directory. These are all the videos that you're going to find in these lecture slides. Okay, so within each lecture slide, as you can see right here, there's the first one. They've embedded videos. So if you play this lecture in PowerPoint and you play it as a slideshow, you're going to be able to see all of those videos. Now, I've posted extra videos on Play-Doh, and they mimic a lot of what is here. I've posted videos on conformity and compliance and obedience, a few on prejudice and discrimination, but then there's some additional ones here. I did some helping bystander intervention videos. So, I tried to mimic what they have here, but give you different videos that when I teach social psych, actually, I show some of the videos in class that I've posted for you all on Play-Doh. So number one, go to your slides, but number two, check what's in Play-Doh and be able to watch those there. Now, I'm not going to go through every slide with you, but I want to just make sure to cover some key points, okay? That's the goal with these little mini burst lectures, is to give you key points to kind of guide you along. One big area of social psychology is social influence. So how are we influenced by other people? Both their behavior as well as what they think and what they feel and how that's shown towards us. How are we influenced by groups of people? So that could be just the presence of others. Someone being next to you can influence how you act. Who that someone is can influence how you act. Is it an authority figure? Is it a parent? Is it a friend? Or is it someone that you're trying to win their approval? So all other people can influence us in those ways. So really it could be anything from your social world. The first thing that we're going to look at is conformity, and that's basically someone trying to change your behavior or change your opinion or thoughts. But it could be very subtle and it could be more overt. Normative social influence involves that which happens when we feel like we need to do something to fit in. What are the norms of our culture, and how do we mend, or I should say mold to those in order to fit in with our society? What are some things that we do because we know we should, because we want to be liked by others or accepted by others? So we act in ways that are in line with what others are expecting of us. So that would be normative social influence. Informational social influence is still taking our cues from others on how we should behave, but it happens more in a situation that we've never been in before. So a situation that's unclear or ambiguous, we don't know how to act, we've never been in that situation before, we're going to look to others for information. So we're not necessarily looking to others to fit in or be liked or accepted. We're looking to others because we don't know how to act, and we're taking our cues from other people that we think do know how to act. So those are the two key components of conformity. We're going to see Asch's line study is a popular one. You're going to read about him in the book, where he studied conformity and how groups influence our behavior. He presented subjects with a standard line, and he asked them to compare these 3 lines with the standard line. And he found that when in a group of individuals, given Confederates, people who were in on the study, they would answer first and they would say the wrong answer. So they would say number 1 matches the standard line. By the time it got down to the real participant of the study, 3 or 4 people may have already given their incorrect answer, but now the person's in a situation where they've all given an answer. The person knows in their head it's the wrong answer, but is wondering why they gave that answer. They must not know something. They must be in on something I'm not aware of. I don't want to look like the idiot, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give the answer they all gave, even though I know the answer's 2. I'm going to go ahead and say 1. And so that's an interesting thing that happens, is we're likely to go against our better judgment when we're given models of what we should be doing or how we should be acting by other people. We assume that we're uninformed in the situation, and so we go along with other people. Now you can see this video here. They've embedded an Asch kind of remake video of how that line study looks, and I've put some others in Plato as well. Conformity affects a lot of what we do because we want to fit in. We want to, we value the rules of society. We value cohesiveness in getting along with everybody. And so we try hard to conform to some degree. Even people who are quote unquote non-conformists conform to some degree because they have to obey the law and they have to follow the rules of society. Otherwise, there may be ramifications or there may be consequences of not conforming. This affects us because we do a lot of our behavior in groups. Okay, so a lot of times we're not acting in a bubble, we're acting within a greater group of people, classmates, roommates, teammates, family members, all can be considered groups that we belong to. And groupthink occurs when we allow the thoughts of the group to override our own independent thoughts. Okay? When we're in groups, we tend to feel more invulnerable. Like we can do anything, we can make a decision that maybe is more risky when we're in a group because other people feel the same way, so it must be right. So we tend to divorce ourselves a little bit more so from our individual thought processes, and we tend to go along with the group, especially when the group has powerful or important others. We might look to them to make decisions, and those decisions might be ones that we wouldn't normally make on our own. So this slide goes over different characteristics that exist within a group where groupthink happens. You'll see some examples of that in your textbook, especially in history where groupthink has occurred. In politics, our political leaders making in retrospect, very bad decisions. And then we look back and go, well, how did those decisions get made? We had a bunch of smart people working on this task. How'd they make such a fatal error? And usually it was because of this phenomenon of groupthink. People in the group were pressured to make certain choices. There was stereotypes operating. People didn't think about their own opinions and investigate. They kind of went along with the group. They rationalized others' behaviors. They felt invulnerable. Sometimes members don't express their own opinions if they differ from the group because they don't want to be the odd man out, and so forth. Okay, and then there's some ways we can minimize groupthink. You'll want to be looking at those, and definitely the government employs some of these tactics to try to minimize groupthink, although it is hard when we're thinking within a group and making decisions within a group. So I'm going to just skip here. You'll see some videos I posted on social facilitation versus social loafing, which basically just deal with how are we influenced positively by others being around, and how are we influenced negatively. So positively would be social facilitation. Sometimes the presence of others improves our performance. So if you're doing a task that you really love, an audience can act on that in a way to propel you forward, motivate you, and be a positive influence. If you're doing a task that is not familiar to you or you do not like, the presence of an audience can actually impair your ability to perform well, and create difficulty for you. Social loafing happens within a group when, because of the group, we think we can do less. Oh, I'm not going to contribute as much because, there's 10 other people in this group and somebody else will do it. It's sort of like passing off responsibility onto other group members. And we see that a lot in individualistic cultures, because everyone's kind of out for themselves and they're not thinking about the greater good of the group. A group is only as strong as its weakest member. So if individually people aren't contributing, the group inevitably falls apart. So we see this a lot in cultures like our own in America. We see it less so in like Asian cultures or more collectivistic cultures. So I have some videos about that on Plato. There's a really great one by Khan Academy that I posted on social facilitation and social loafing. So make sure that you watch that. Something else that happens in groups is de-individuation. We tend to see ourselves as less of an individual, and the group mindset takes over. That can be negative in many different ways, and I posted a couple videos of that. We definitely see this happening in studies like the Stanford Prison Study, which your book talks about, where the group takes over and we divorce ourselves from our own actions and we feel less responsible for our own actions in that sense. Okay, you're going to spend some time on compliance. I'm not going to go through compliance here. There's a video about it, and then there's different techniques. Compliance is responding to a direct request. So where conformity is more of social pressures to conform to the norm. Compliance is somebody actually asking you to do something, and they can do it in a way that's going to better ensure that they get your compliance. So there's different tactics that can be used. So this is used a lot in advertising and media and marketing. Use different compliance tactics to get you to buy a product or watch a show or participate in an activity. It's somebody wanting something from you, and the way in which they go about getting that matters, because you're either going to comply or you're not. So what would be factors that would increase your compliance? Here are some tactics that are going to go ahead and do that. The last concept that I'm going to cover is obedience. You're going to see that in the Milgram video, so I really want you to watch the original Milgram video, which is here. It kind of demonstrates to you that Milgram's study on obedience to authority. And then there's another one in Plato it's Jerry Berger's remake of the Milgram study done in, I think, 2007, which demonstrates to you just the power authorities have over us, and oftentimes we will do things we wouldn't normally be comfortable with because an authority figure told us to do it. Where that authority figure is, who that authority figure is, where the directive is coming from, who's giving the order matters. All of that matters on whether or not we're going to obey. So be watching that video and looking for some of those tidbits of information that are explained on why those elements make a difference. The rest of this chapter deals with attitudes, so I'm going to do this in a separate podcast. I'm just going to cover some things about attitudes. So that wraps up this part 1 of this podcast on chapter 12.